1, 2, yeah. Winning games, basewinner.com. Yeah. Winning games is a way of life we work and we dig.
All right, you got the base winner here, and we are going to do the crunch. No game tomorrow. It's for the Wednesday. There's no card on Wednesday, but I think you guys will enjoy this data study. We did a 3 time frame data analysis using weighted runs created plus, and of course my favorite, BBK. And well, I hope you guys all read the home run derby stuff. That turned out really well. And it was really fun to watch. I think the only thing that could have gone better is if Peterson would have beat Guerrero in the swing off. And it looked like, I thought we had it done when Guerrero hit the 1 home run, and then Peterson in the first, I think it was the first playoff, he hit the first one out. And I said, well, he's got to get 1 of 2. And then I guess we would have called it kind of dormy, I guess, or to use a golf term, but we would have clinched it without in the first semifinal. We would have clinched ultimate victory on it. But super fun, and look to do that next year too. So we'll keep that strategy in place for next year. All right, let's get into what we are going to talk about today, which is we're looking for potential surgers or faders as far as batters go. And we use 2 metrics, weighted runs created and BBK, and 3 different time frames. So let's see, and it's really interesting because there were some good observations that I uncovered in doing this. So let me just explain. You guys all probably know what weighted runs created is. If you don't, there's plenty of information out there that described it. It's basically taking the runs created and scaling it to the ballpark. That's why I like it a lot, because it takes out the ballpark effects. I mean, DRC plus from baseball perspectives, I like more because they take the quality of opponent factor in too, but I couldn't get the time frames that I needed. And it makes it easy for at least my brain to comprehend. I love these 100 base stats. I think when I first started, this was the first one that I saw, weighted runs created plus. It really resonated with me, and that's why we do a lot of stuff at Base Winner with that 100 scale. It just makes sense, and then you don't have to memorize. If you're looking at 12 different metrics, you know that 100 is average, no matter what metrics you're talking about. So you don't have to memorize a bunch of different metrics amongst a ton of different sports, and so it's good. So we've kept it like that, and Riley was doing that with the soccer, and we did that with the college basketball model as well as and the NFL crunch too. So hey, if I'm Clear Data Sports, they use this 100 scale quite a bit. So if you guys aren't familiar with it, I think that a good place to start would be that weighted runs created plus explanation, and then you can, because that was kind of my inspiration for the way we present our numbers throughout our charts. So that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so my goal was to look at 2 different time frames to see if we could predict the 3rd time frame with what weighted runs created, because when you're creating probabilities, it all comes down to runs, and that's a story for another day, how to do that. But that's why I like the runs created number. So, and I knew that it was not fully predictive, because I've done previous studies, but this, sometimes every now and then you need to look at this and be like, wow, I didn't realize that it wasn't that predictive. And so I think that if you look at the scatter plot from, and this is probably the best, this aggregated weighted runs created plus for quarter. So let me explain the time frame. So we did previous full year, and then you had to have 250 at bats. Then we did the next year's first and second quarter. You had to have 130 at bats, and then we were trying to create some logic that would predict that 3rd quarter, because that's what we're trying to do here ultimately, is figure out who's going to surge in that 3rd quarter, who's going to fade. And so the 3rd quarter results, they had to have 100 plate appearances. So, okay. So in other words, Donaldson, this is 2016, Donaldson is the first time frame, and then so the next time frame would be 2017, first quarter and second quarter, and then with a combination of this these metrics, BBK, and in these time frames, we could try to solve for the quarter 3 runs created. So the first thing that I did was did some scatter plots with weighted runs created. Well, what is best? What kind of combination works best? Is weighted runs created plus more predictive in the second quarter? If you weight the quarter, the current quarter, predictive to the third quarter. If you weight, what kind of weighting on this weighted runs created stat just by itself is predictive? And it's pretty disappointing that it's telling that you just can't say, well, this guy's aggregated weighted runs created plus is 145. That means that he's going to be around 145 in the next quarter. So I'll show you the scatter plot on this to which kind of bears that out. Okay, one other thing I wanted to point out was that you notice that WRC plus is not a lot higher, but higher than 100 at 108. Pretty much consistently amongst the three time periods. Reason being is because it takes out the people. This study takes out the people with low at bats. So for the most part, the people with lower at bats are going to have lower WRC plus. So it brings it down. Okay, so here's the scatter plot. We take aggregate WRC plus, and this is kind of the best combination that I found. It ranged from about a correlation number of 0.14 to this is kind of the best correlation number 0.17, which isn't very good. And so I took the aggregate WRC plus from the first 2 time frames to the third quarter, which is what we're trying to solve. And so taking that alone is probably not a good idea to just use that. So just kind of keep that in mind in your handicapping. There's more to it than just using that WRC plus. It's a really good descriptive statistic, very good, perhaps the best out there. But from a predictive standpoint, there needs to be some combinations and things. And in fact, BBK is a lot more predictive, and BBK I think had about a 0.38, which is about a 0.6 or 0.38 R squared, which is about 0.6 R. So that is a more predictive number. It's still not perfect, but better, a lot better than this one is. Okay, so that was, I think, interesting in itself, because if you hear baseball hipsters talking about, well, this guy's going to be great, his WRC plus is, so there is whatever, it's really high, or it increased, this guy's on fire, he's going to have a great third quarter. That's not necessarily true. I think the next thing that I pointed out, that the study pointed out, is that, and let's clear the data here real fast so I can just do that. Okay, so this is the full study. So you'll notice, now this is interesting. So if the change in WRC plus number is above average. Okay, so this is everybody that increased their weighted RC plus from the previous year in the first 2 quarters of the season being analyzed from the previous year. They increased their WRC plus. Okay, so above average, that would be greater than 0, I think. Yep, greater than 0. Okay. So you notice that the average was 22 points in WRC plus, and then they went down minus 11 for the next time frame. That's, I think, pretty interesting. So it's a regressive stat, and you'll notice that people that are below average, so it went down amazingly, minus 22 points on average, but then it went up 12 points the next quarter. So if anything, if the thing goes down, you just guess it to go back up, because that's what the data is saying it's going to do. I thought that was pretty interesting. Okay, so how can we use this? How can we use this to identify people who could surge, people that possibly would fade? So okay, these are the sorts that I did. Okay, so this is the first sort. So you got the top 25% in weighted runs created change from time frame 1 to time frame 2, but they had the change in BBK in the same time frames was less than 0. So they actually had a negative change in BBK. So what happened the third quarter is that on average they went down 30 points. Guys like Yonder Alonso, Pollock, Gorkys Hernandez, and Hernandez went from 76 in 2017 to 121 first 2 quarters, but then he really went down to 57 in the third quarter of 2018. So you see these guys, and there's 23 of them. So it kind of gives us, okay, well, these are guys that are probably going to go down in their weighted runs created. So that is if they're in the top 25% of weighted runs created gain, but they're in the bottom, or they're below 0 for BBK change in those time frames. So that's cool. So we'll be able to identify guys that from last year to the first 2 quarters of 2019 have a good chance, based on this study, to regress in third quarter 2019. Okay, so let's take a look at the other side of this. The guys that should regress or improve based on their combination of weighted runs created plus. So this is bottom 20% of weighted runs created plus. Bottom 20% from time frame 1, the change in weighted runs created plus from time frame 1 to time frame 2. And then with an aggregated BBK, so pretty good BBKs, really good, of greater than 0.6. So you'll notice some pretty good hitters here. Rizzo's one of them. He happened to improve his quarter 2 of 2018 from 106 to 144. I'm trying to think of another guy that's a pretty good example. Cabrera actually went down, so that's a bad example. But Justin Turner went from 112 to 177. Santana went from 86 to, and this is 2016 when he played for the Indians, 86 to 162. Wow, that's a really big increase. So guys who match that same parameter for this year are and then this is interesting. Mookie Betts, he has performed to a 118 weighted runs created plus. That's through June 28th, so it could be a little bit different. And so he should go up based on his BBK. His BBK has actually gone up from last year. So this guy's really due. He was a 185 last year. So I think that he to me would be a lock. So if you guys have an opportunity to get him on your fantasy team, he might be an option. Aaron Hicks is an interesting guy. He was at 79 on June 28th, and he didn't have that many at bats. I think his at bats were, I don't know, just barely over the requirement. But he went on the tear prior to the All-Star break, so he raised it to 103 at like a 200 weighted runs created plus. So thanks a lot, Base Winner, for not telling me about Aaron Hicks before right when the quarter ended. Thank you, Base Winner. But anyway, so this guy should get better too. Aaron Hicks, Maikel Franco, and that was interesting because he was one of the guys that was on the list, I think. He just missed out on that list. He was up there when I was doing sorts. So this guy, his numbers should improve. He went from a 105 in 2018 full to the first quarters of this year, 68. And then Jose Ramirez, who let's hope this guy gets well. And his BBK's gone down from 1.33 to 0.91, but that's still a really good BBK. It was at 146 last year. He's at 67 this year. I look for him to get well. And hey, anybody wants Kendry Morales? Kendry Morales' agent is listing right now. Just cite this study. Say, dude, his BBK was good in 2019. He should be at a higher WRC plus. So as far as I know, he's out of the league when I checked it. But these are guys: Betts, Hicks, Franco, Jose Ramirez that we look to improve. Okay, well there's your data study with BBK and WRC plus. It was pretty cool to put that together. You guys, I hope all your bets cash. And let's have a great second half of the baseball season. Football's coming up, and there's going to be some big news coming from us. And you guys will see soon enough. So, you guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back for the Friday podcast on Thursday.
We'll help you win stacks, crunching numbers all day and all night. Base winner is Bob Barker. He knows what price is right. Yeah, basewinner.com, the way to make money. I bet you I'm not wrong. I said.
I could.